Hey, what's going on, guys? This is AndrewChicken, and welcome back to another video. Paladins just released a hotfix, and I want to cover the hotfix because there's some good stuff in it, but it also seems to have broken more things, and also, I'm sure you're wondering, does the hotfix mean the servers are fixed? And we'll get to that in a moment. But first of all, the hotfix seems to have broken something very important. If you go to your profile, your match history is gone. There's no more match history. It's not showing up for some reason. So I'm not sure what's going on with that, but it is a bad thing in the sense that, you know, if you want to see your win rate, you know, you can't do that anymore. But more importantly, if you need to go back into a previous match and report someone or add them as a friend, any of those social functions, those are also temporarily gone because they got broken in this hotfix. Also, they have now added the match ID to the bottom right corner of your screen, so you can basically press tab in the middle of a match now and have the match ID ready to go in case your match has a hacker in it or the match gets dropped and you need the match ID for later, though. But while we're here, I also want to point out that Koga's talent still is not showing up. I have selected Adrenaline Junkie. I have my loadout equipped. It is working, as Adrenaline Junkie normally does, but yeah, it doesn't show up. I have no idea why. Evil Mojo have also supposedly fixed many of the trials that were bugged, although I can't exactly confirm that for you right now, because I would have to actually go and play some trials and try them out, and I don't have time to do that right now. But you can, of course, confirm down in the comments section down below if you have completed one of these trials, particularly the ammo trials, if they have worked or not, or if they're still bugged and you're not able to complete them. But hopefully they're fixed, and that's a very good thing. Now, the reason I specifically said supposedly fixed the Trials of the Realm is because they supposedly fixed another thing, but they didn't actually fix it, even though it was specifically stated in the patch notes that they did. And of course, I'm talking about Furia. So if we go ahead and pull up the patch notes here, you can see that for Furia, it says they fixed an issue where some Furia skins would jitter during certain animations. She looked choppy, her hands were jittering, it was really bad. And that is not fixed, not even a little bit. So yeah, if I just use the right-click animation here on Furia, look at her hand. It's shaking. Why is it doing that? It's so bad. And the Pyro Strike is also pretty bad, although admittedly less noticeable because most of the animation happens off-screen. But her hand on the right-click, ooh, that is bad. And that is the default skin. And if we go ahead and equip the latest skin from the event pass, you can see that. Yeah, it's still, ooh, very jittery. Very, very jittery. So, those are the two most important skins I can think of right now that have this bug. The default skin, which is the one everyone by default owns, and the new skin in the event pass that's meant to be featured. And both of these are still very jittery, so I don't know what's going on, but the patch notes are incorrect. This is still bugged. However, one animation-related fix that they have successfully completed is for the new Cuddle King skin for Bomb King. This skin had some issues, particularly with the frills here around his neck not being animated properly, especially if you would go and look at the MVP poses. You could see that they would just stick in place and it looked really bad, and sometimes they would completely disconnect from the model based on how he was posed. But if we just click through these different mastery poses, you can see that all is well and good, and they are working once more, so that is very, very nice. Also, I've just realized I don't technically have one equipped. That's weird. What? Okay, let's not worry about that. So now we have a few balance-related bug fixes, and the first one I want to talk about is for Cursed Accord. So Lilith's talent Cursed Accord got reworked this patch, and it didn't get properly implemented because this new version of Cursed Accord decreases the blood cost of your abilities, but increases the cooldowns of your Swarm and Deathwings by 1 second. The previous version of this would instead have decreased your damage rather than give a cooldown penalty, and this talent still had that damage decrease. So you basically decrease the blood cost of your abilities, but you would still increase the Swarm and Deathwings cooldowns and deal less damage all at the same time. So it was like a super mega penalty, and it wasn't intentional. That is gone now. So if I click Cursed Accord, grab my normal healing build, and then just shoot, oh, we're back up to 650 damage. Let's go. No more damage decrease. Now you just have longer cooldowns? It's a weird talent. I have yet to actually properly test it in a game because I knew it was bugged, and so I didn't want to make a video about it. But we will now investigate this in an actual video and see if it's any good at all. I honestly couldn't tell you. Next up, we have a very important bug fix for Fernando. Many astute Fernando players who play Aegis instead of Scorch because they're cringe No. Many Aegis players quickly noticed this patch, that Aegis had a 2-second cooldown added out of nowhere. It wasn't mentioned anywhere on the patch notes. People assumed it was a shadow nerf, but it was actually an unintended bug that we can assume only got there because Evil Mojo was behind the scenes fiddling with Fernando for some reason. So that is no longer there. We're back to the normal toggle on Fernando's shield with just a minor cooldown. That's to make it so, you don't have any bugs with, like, instantly recasting the ability. So it's just back to being nice and smooth. This is with a proper Aegis build that has Towering Barrier in it. And yeah, it's normal again. Hooray! Finally, we have a few Moji fixes, and there's actually one change for Moji that wasn't listed on the patch notes. So first of all, let's discuss what's already listed. Her magic shield will no longer affect any form of deployables or pets, anything like that. It will now only affect players, because for a time, you could use the magic shield on like a Barrack turret, or Luna, or even Imani's dragon if you wanted to. And admittedly, it was a pretty cool feature. I put feature in air quotes because technically it's not a feature, but it was cool. It was a way for her to support deployables in a way that no other character could, but now that's been removed. I suppose it makes sense for the sake of consistency, but, it does mean that she's lost something super unique. Even if it was super niche, and honestly probably not that helpful. The next change they've done to Magic Shield is actually a raw buff. They have fiddled with the way to how it works to make it so that provides Moji greatly increased self-shielding. Basically, she now has a cap of 600 shielding on herself, but if she gets shot while channeling the shield, each tick of the shield will give her that 600 health, if I'm reading this correctly. Magic Shield now applies a 600 health shield emoji every 0.25 seconds, capping at 600. So yes, every quarter of a second you will get that 600 shield back. It'll basically be super shield regeneration, kind of on par with Torvald's recharge. So that is very powerful, and yeah, we can just demonstrate this here in the shooting range. If I go on over to Cassie, and as I get shot, it replenishes the shield, and she is still able to chip away at my health, although it takes a lot of effort, because each of those shield procs are 600 shield health. That's a lot of shielding over the duration of this ability. Now, this is only for Moji herself. It's a way to provide her with some extra sustain while she uses this ability, and bring it more in line with the invulnerability that Magic Barrier previously had when she was still a flank. So this is a net buff to a support who already is able to churn out some incredible numbers, and you can buy Guardian, and Guardian on Magic Shield is now that much stronger. Bam, 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 bam. Oh, look at all that. Now, let me test something real quick live, actually. Let me get the shield back. And with Guardian, let me actually make sure and see if the cap increases. So if I just do this... I mean, it looks like the cap has increased to me. I canceled it earlier there, but we were still well above 600. So I'm not sure what's going on with that. But, yeah, basically Magic Shield is a lot stronger now when it comes to personal self-sustain for Moji. On teammates, though, it's exactly the same. Just the normal amount of shielding, nothing fancy there. But, yeah, a buff to a character who... well, is... I mean, it's weird, because she's very strong in some situations, but to me it also seems like a lot of people are bad at Moji right now. I don't want to be mean, but, I mean, she's just the newest support, and she's a very unique support. She requires good positioning because of her extremely short range, and she's also one of the only supports who requires aim, which, I know the bar is pretty low when I say that, just requiring aim makes a support skillful, but it is the truth, and it means that she is a lot more difficult than someone like Sarah's, and so it's been taking people a lot of getting used to. And so maybe this buff is a good thing, but at the same time, I still feel like, her highest potential, when played well, makes her like a very, 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 very strong support. But I don't know, it still remains to be seen. We've still got a lot more testing to do with Moji. But the last thing to showcase with Moji is that they've changed the scamper animation, and you actually saw a little bit of it there. But now, it's a little bit more fluid when it comes to just sustained running around with this ability indefinitely. Although in my opinion, it does look a little bit weird. You see the second head of Po Li on the left there is like way higher up than the head on the right for some reason. It's like really tall, and it's like, why is Po Li looking directly up? It's very strange, and it's much more pronounced on the skin that I'm actually using, Peekaboo. Because as you can see with default Moji, a lot of that part of the animation gets covered up by her hat. So I wonder if this was maybe an oversight. Except when you, like, look at this direction, then you can see the head being all sorts of goofy again. It's a little weird, I must say. But at least it does look a little bit more fluid than the previous animations, so I can appreciate that. Because the original Scamper animation wasn't designed to be made indefinite. You know, it wasn't designed to be like Victor's Hustle, but now it's almost exactly like Victor's Hustle, and so they needed a new animation. I appreciate that they're trying, I think the head needs a little bit of work. That's kind of weird. And I also don't get why this wasn't listed on the patch notes, alongside all the other cosmetic changes. I mean, honestly, you should have taken out the Furia change, because that didn't actually happen. You didn't fix Furia. And you should have put the Mojo change there instead, because this is actually a notable change in this hotfix. But now for the final and most important thing of them all. Did they fix the servers? Well, let me show you this video I took. I decided to do another test queuing on EU. So here you can see me switching my region to EU, and then immediately queuing. And we get into the match, eventually. Here it is. And yeah, I asked people if they have had matches dropped, and they did say yes. So that's already a bad start. Maybe they played before the hotfix, though. Who knows? But then we get into the match, and yeah, we're just chilling in spawn, and then we head out into the fight. Check out these fireballs, though, man. Let me just gloat about that real quick. Oh, bam, and then, oh, that was nice. And then, not even a minute into the match, in terms of the actual match timer, you can see, that was like, what? That was less than 20 seconds for the match to get dropped in Onslaught. You can actually see exactly on the top, it was 9:43. So 17 seconds transpired. And the match dropped. So EU is still having massive server issues right now. And it's a big problem. And honestly, I appreciate the work that they did in this hotfix to fix some of the things that genuinely did need fixing, such as Lilith, Fernando, the animations on the newest skins, stuff like that. Trials too, assuming they actually did get fixed. But these hotfix notes don't even address the server issues, and the servers are clearly still having major problems. And I don't get what's going on over at Evil Mojo right now, quite frankly, because it's silent. It's actually like 2022 all over again with the sound bug, in terms of just the lack of transparency right now with what's going on. The fact that this issue has persisted for so long, and there has barely been anything said publicly by the devs, and it is very frustrating to see. And yeah, just out of curiosity, I went on over to this godforsaken website, and yeah, there's nothing. They didn't even post about the hotfix, which is kind of strange. But yeah, it's a ghost town over here. Like I said in the previous video, talking about these server issues, we have, well, I think it's just the two posts. Yeah, it's just the two posts. It's this one and this one on May 27th and May 30th. And that's all we know about the servers and the status of the progress towards this being fixed and all of that stuff. Meanwhile, I literally queued on EU and had the first match dropped within 20 seconds of the round starting. Like, that's no time at all to play the game. So, yeah. I mean, I appreciate the hotfix. It's good stuff. But there's an elephant in the room that is not being addressed, and if it continues to not be addressed, and if a fix continues to not be present, or there's no update on a fix even, then we're only going to continue to see this. This is the Steam charts here. Let me actually refresh the page. It's been a few hours. Wow, we actually gained players? It's 10:30 at night. Okay. Yeah, the Steam charts continue to decline dramatically. And again, I always have to preface this. The Steam charts don't show the whole picture. The Steam charts don't show unique logins. The Steam charts don't show Xbox, PlayStation, or Epic Games players. But it's still useful for identifying trends. And the trend is bad. So we're struggling to even hit peaks of 5,000 right now. Like, this was Friday, May 31st, and on the weekend here, on Saturday and Sunday, yeah, not even able to hit 5k, whereas just a few weeks prior, easily hitting 6k. Look at that, 6.5k. Every single time is Sunday, May 19th, almost 7,000. So the peak has gone down drastically. 4,185 is the current peak for today. It's Thursday night as I record this. Now, admittedly, Thursday is not a super peak day for any game because most people are at work. But there's still a marked decline. Last Thursday, the peak was 4,800, so we have lost 700 players in terms of the peak. And how about the Thursday before that? Oh, 5,500. Okay, so we lost 700 and then we lost 700. And like it was, it was sustainable. It was like, pretty even for the past like month, 3 months or so. And you can just start to see this slow, steady hemorrhaging. And also you can see really how EU is being impacted, because these humps are a lot more flat. Whereas previously, if we go back to the month again, they were a lot spikier. Like, for example, May 26th here, there's a giant spike, and then a dip, and it kind of plateaus for a little bit, and then dips again. And that's like the normal trajectory for Paladins. And that's because EU is the single largest server for Paladins. It's the largest chunk of the player base, followed by NA. And so the big peak hours right there are peak hours for EU. And then peak hours for NA, or at least, NA is still, like, carrying the bulk of the player base at this point, and then it declines, and, about 4, 3 o'clock, at night when most people in NA are sleeping and when most people in EU are just starting to wake up and go to their jobs. That's when the player base is at its lowest. But recently, with EU being on fire and not literally being able to complete a game, not even getting to spend 20 seconds in a game, yeah, look at this flat hump here. It's dipped so drastically. And it's only going to get worse the longer that this issue gets prolonged and the longer that there's not any transparency giving players hope. It's okay if the fix is still a few weeks out, if they're still working on it, if it's a tough issue, if they have all the resources on it. But we don't know that. And as players, it's hard for us to maintain hope when we just don't know what's going on. When it seems like they're twiddling their thumbs because we have no idea what they're doing. So it's a very big problem, and I really just wish the game weren't in this position, and I wish they would do better to actually retain their players and keep the community hopeful, because it's hard to find hope when you can't even play the game in the first place. So, yeah, to summarize this video, they did a pretty decent hotfix here, they fixed a lot of good stuff. Not entirely accurate patch notes here because the Furia fix isn't actually fixed, and they also did a Mojo animation change that's not listed here. But overall, I mean, it's a good hotfix. But the elephant in the room has not been addressed, and it's just, I don't even know what to say. So that's where we're going to leave it, I guess. If you guys enjoyed, if you found this video to be helpful, then of course, make sure to drop a like, subscribe, turn on notifications, and yeah, I will see you all next time. Peace out.